Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be talking indirectly about Ryzen 3000 chips, but what we're really looking at is the effect that Ryzen 3000 series chips might have on the used market, specifically with the older generation of Ryzen chips. So I want to talk about what I think might happen, and I also want to talk a little bit about why I think that's going to happen. So let me start with the conclusion that a lot of people have sort of been coming to, and it's something that I sort of agree with, though I don't think this is going to be an instantaneous thing. I think this is going to be a little bit of a drug out process with the Ryzen 3000 launch, but what I think is eventually going to happen is we're going to see these original Ryzen chips, especially the 1600s and the 1700s if you want the 8 cores and 16 threads. I think we're going to see the prices on those really drop on the used market. I really think we may end up seeing prices for things like Ryzen 1600 on eBay to be around that $70 point, the $75, $80 maybe, readily available, similar to the way right now we have RX 480s on eBay that you can find for $90 pretty much all day long right now. And now I want to get a little bit more into the why I think that's going to happen. And I think a big part of this actually comes down to the way AMD has went about its Ryzen platform in general, not just its Ryzen 3000 series, 2000 or 1000 series, but really Ryzen as a whole. And that big component that I think is missing from most Intel processors and Intel platforms is the AM4 socket is still being supported on the newest generation of processors, clear back to B350 and X370. And what that's going to mean is if somebody was an early adopter of Ryzen, if you maybe have an X370 board as I do, and you want to upgrade to the newest and latest and greatest, all it takes is a BIOS update and a CPU drop-in. So you can just pull your CPU out, you can reuse the cooler you're already using, especially if you have an aftermarket one like I do. Just pull the CPU out, put the new CPU back in, and then you're left with a CPU that you can sell, and you didn't have to spend any extra money whatsoever on upgrading the rest of your rig. But I do think we're gonna see a lot of people that started off with a bigger investment, maybe with their original gaming rig or original editing rig, whatever the case may be, that have a solid motherboard. I think those people are going to jump from the original Ryzen platform up to the 3000 series because we've seen a significant jump in both clock speeds as well as IPC, at least if AMD's numbers hold out. We see a significant jump from the first generation to the third generation, and AMD has really done a great job making the move to the third generation as seamless as possible, even if you're coming from those older chipsets that are still being supported. Now, it's important to understand when we're looking at the used market with these incoming Ryzen 3000 parts, hopefully pushing a lot of people to upgrade and hopefully flooding the market with that first generation and even second generation Ryzen parts. It's important to note that Ryzen 3000 may not necessarily be very easy to come by early on in its launch. So on July 7th, if you pick up a processor, hey, great. But if you wait till July 8th or 9th, it's entirely possible, if not likely based on past launches, that all of these Ryzen 3000 parts will already be sold out on readily available places like Newegg, Amazon, even in stores possibly like your Fry's and Micro Centers may even sell out depending on where you live. So it's important to realize that we're not going to see this immediate shift as soon as Ryzen 3000 parts launch. We're not going to see Ryzen 1600s go on eBay from $100 down to $60 overnight. We're not going to see that kind of rapid transition. Now, what I hope to see as the year wears on and as we get to that point where Ryzen 3000 is basically readily available anytime you want to hop on Amazon and Newegg and purchase it, that's when I'm hoping we start to see those Ryzen 1000 series and Ryzen 2000 series parts actually start to flood the market. Similar to the way that we didn't see eBay's prices for things like RX 480s, 580s drop out of the bottom as soon as the mining market crashed. It took a little while for those miners that were holding out, hoping the market would bounce back to start selling off their rigs, but also it took a while just for miners to say, yep, this mining craze is over, it's time to pack up shop. There's gonna be that latency period where we have Ryzen 3000, but we haven't seen the price drop in the Ryzen 1000 or 2000 series yet. And to be fair here, Ryzen 1000 series parts, especially your 1600s and 1700s, would be the big deals there. But those parts are already pretty cheap. Even on the brand new market, you can find Ryzen 1600s somewhat readily available, especially if you hit a sale for about $110-ish. In fact, I did just go and look, and on Newegg right now, the Ryzen 1600 is $110. And on eBay, you can find these parts readily available used for $100. So right now the deals are out there already for the 1000 series. That's sort of what I think is going to happen as we move forward into the Ryzen 3000 generation this July 7th when those launch. I do think there's going to be that latency period though. We're not going to see the used market for Ryzen 1600 and 2000 series parts, Ryzen 1600 parts, Ryzen 1000 series parts, and 2000 series parts. Those markets aren't going to drop out immediately. There's going to be this latency period, but I do think the Ryzen 3000 series of processors is going to drop kick the used market eventually. And I also think this may actually drive the Ivy Bridge and older markets, the used markets that are featuring those i5 3470s and some of those older processors from Intel. It might actually kill some of those markets as well, because the Ryzen platform is significantly superior already to those. And now that we'll likely be getting those parts cheaper and cheaper, I could definitely see a world where those older Intel parts start to get very cheap as well. So it's a great time if you're looking on the used market to build a PC, though I would encourage you at this point, it might be a good idea to go ahead and wait unless you find some really good deals. It may be better suited to your budget if you hold off for a couple of months just to sort of feel out that used market, as July 7th is so close. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the prices actually do drop very quickly right after the Ryzen 3000 launch. But I am curious what you guys think about the Ryzen 3000 launch and how you think it's going to affect the used market. Let me know your thoughts down below. And of course, if you like this video, give it a like, share, subscribe, and comment. All those things are very helpful to the channel. You can follow me both on Instagram and on Twitter at Hoosier Hardware. And as always, I'll let YouTube queue up a couple more videos from my channel for you to watch. I'm Shane with Hoosier Hardware, and I'll see you guys in the next video.